Fall, the time of the falling carnelian leaves, and also the time the hot goth babes leave the refuge of the air-conditioned mall in favor for wandering the streets, even one night being rewarded for their alternative lifestyle with free candy if they so choose. And I'm a pretty big fan of fall. As a kid, I'd always say it was my favorite. I liked the hues of reds and oranges across the houses I'd see on my way to school. And even more so, I enjoyed the slightly cold weather, where my insecure self could get away with wearing jackets every day. But as I grew older, my appreciation of fall shifted from that of aesthetics and clothing excuses to that of introspection and the understanding that all things must come to an end. Oh, and the goth babes part. Oh yeah. Back to the end of things part though, if you think about it, that's all fall really is. Things dying. The amount of daylight dies down and so does the heat, which leads to plants and trees getting less chlorophyll, which reveals those good old warm color pigments that were tucked behind the green this whole time. I find it really interesting that we as a culture have created a fall aesthetic built behind the concept of decay. Although nowadays with the hallmarkization of every considerable thing, if I asked someone what were fall aesthetics, they'd probably bring up pumpkin spice lattes from Starbucks, or Halloween, or Thanksgiving. The year is also seemingly dying down at this point. Sure, there's still winter before the year comes to a close, but winter also carries into the new year. So for me, winter is a transition between the old and the new. I'm sure most people associate winter as the end of the year instead of a transitional point due to Christmas being the highlight of it, making it a very front-loaded season in people's mind. But for me, I always considered fall as the quote-unquote end, with spring being the beginning, where things are born again and yada yada. And following that logic, it kind of leaves winter empty of that status of life thing that I'm talking about, which is funny to me, but also begs the question, what's more symbolic of death? The process of it or the act of being it? Because one might say that winter is more symbolic of death than fall is for the fact that, well, that's when things are actually dead outside. I personally find more investment in the process of death than the result of it because, say we're using myself as an example here, if I were to be dead, that's it. I'm dead. No emotional weight about it on my end, no questioning what's next or any reaction of any kind. But say I get terminally ill, then I have room to be scared or concerned or reactive in any way. But that's only towards oneself. And that perspective kind of ignores the fact of how death is treated when you are not the one heading out the door. In that regard, I'm sure many more are hurt by the concept of death after the fact and not during the process of it. I'd argue a large reason this is the case is due to the sheer amount of things we take for granted in life. Like, how different would your choices be if you were intending to make the most of every second? I know I, for one, would have gotten this video out sooner, before Halloween, to capitalize on the topic. But here it is, on the date it says in the description. I don't sweat it too much though, because the time I spent not working on this video was spent with loved ones and or video games. For the first half, I can guarantee was time well spent, and that other part, while one could reasonably dictate Nick Brawl 2 as frivolous, I think at least a little part of it was keeping me relaxed in what has been undoubtedly a challenging time in my life. Anyways, understanding and coming to terms with the time you got left to do something is a beautiful thing. In a way, it makes things more vibrant. Changes the way you look at things. As if it's a leaf finally revealing colors that were always there. This fall, take a step back to capitalize on opportunities, because when the leaves turn orange, it's only a matter of time until winter is here.